welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm participating in a YouTube hop with scraps to embellishments, where we take paper scraps to make embellishments for your scrapbook pages or cards or any other thing you want to use your projects for. So I had some small pieces of colored paper, and the theme for this week is safari, so I'm going to be making this lion from Elizabeth Craft Designs, and these are the dies that I used. And usually these dies, like this particular one, it has the ears, the eyes, the nose, and the tongue, which would really be all different colors. So I think it's mostly designed to use it with white paper and then color it with like ink or your markers. But I'm going to be using colored paper because I think that helps make things quicker. And plus, I usually have a lot of extra different colors left over because I do card making. And so we'll see how that goes. And we'll also do some coloring, which will give it a little bit more texture. So we're going to try it out. I thought I would try the tan with the mouth and all because the ears are going to be brown. And then we can either have a choice of using these two little eyes it cuts out, or just coloring in the eyes on the face, because here's his face. You can see where his eyes are. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's an outline for it. So you could either just color it or color the eyes and glue them on. So I'll start with that and see if that works. If not, we'll just color them on. So you can use whatever markers you have. I'm just using Copic, and I'm using this W9, which is a gray, but it's a really dark gray. And we'll see how it looks. If we don't like it, we can always just color in on the face. Okay? And then we can also decide if we want his nose is going to have to be a darker color because I'm going to be putting it on this tan face. So that won't show up if we do that. Now, first of all, before we get any further, they do have engraving lines on it. I don't know if you can see in the video, but it has his mouth. So I'm going to go ahead and do that before we do anything else. So I don't cover it up and can't see where his mouth is. And we'll see if his tongue will also work out. Actually, I don't see his tongue. It's a really small piece, so I must have dropped it somewhere. Oh, it's still on my cutting mat. That's where it is. Okay. So I wasn't sure if this would color in pink. Obviously, the black's darker, so we'll try it. And you don't have to do the mouth. It shows actually in the picture with a tiger with the tongue and the line without, but I think it looks cute with this tongue sticking out. So I'm going to try this color I have and see if it works over the tan. It's R21 if you do Copics. It's actually going to make it look a little bit more brown. Think. Yeah, you can't really see it. I think you almost have to use a bright pink on that for that to show up. I'm going to try this one. RV20 34. It's not a color I usually would use for a tongue, but okay, I think that's going to work. Okay, and you can see the different dies that cut out the different shapes. So I'm just going to move those to the side, and I'll probably zoom in a little bit so you can see. Now, you don't have to do the next step, but I thought if we added some ink, it would give us more control of the color. Because, you know, it's hard to have too many different shades of brown or whatever in your cardstock. It may not be exactly what you want. So if you use ink, you can get it closer to what you want. Plus, I think on the fur, if we add a little bit, it will, already put it on there, give them a little fuzzier look. So I'm going to do this, the tea dye is what I'm going to use. I'm just going to kind of pounce it a little bit, just to give a little bit of texture to kind of look more like fur. And his nose is actually going to be here, so I probably want it a little darker, so I picked out a brown marker. It's E25 is the one I'm going to use. Go a little bit darker than his face. Or you could do black. That would start with brown. If we don't like the brown, we can always change it to black. I wasn't sure about the line. This is kind of a bright yellow, but I didn't have that many different shades of yellow. So I think I'm going to start with mustard seed. And if we want a little bit more orange, we could use wild honey, or we might use that on the orange. I'm not sure. start with the lightest one, and then if we don't like it, we can always go over it and change your mind. So we're starting with the mustard seed and see how that looks. So it'll tone down the yellow a little bit darker, and then also add some texture. Now, since this is scraps, I have to make 4 of them for exchange. Plus, I was making one for my mom and one for me, so we can do some of our zoo pictures. And I didn't have enough of this yellow, so I did try to. I'm going to use a different yellow for my mom and I's lions, and so we'll see how that goes. So it's a great thing with this type of project, using up your scraps. We kind of made it a little bit darker yellow, and if we go with the honey, then it's kind of a orangish yellow. But I think we'll do the orange first and see how that turns out, so we'll know if we want to change it. So I think we could try the wild honey either on this or this. I think I'm going to use the carved pumpkin on the actual orange though. And this whole mane is not going to show because his face is going to go in there, so we don't have to do all of it. Yeah, I don't think I want to make his face orange anymore. I like the contrast. I have to do his tail. I forgot about that. I just used my Nouveau Deluxe glue to glue his face onto the mane. My other glue bottle is getting empty, so I got this one, which is also getting low. But I'm using it to glue on my eyes, and I'm using some tweezers to get up the little pieces of paper. But for some reason, I couldn't find the second eye, so I just glued on the one. I couldn't find the other eye, so I just decided to move on and glue on the other pieces of his face. So I glued on his muzzle and then his mouth, the inside of his ears, and his nose. Then I started gluing all the rest of his body, but didn't attach everything. So I just glued on the orange tip of the tail and glued the, I guess it's kind of his bangs, but the rest of his mane that goes on the top of his head, and then the paws that go on his body. I didn't want to finish his legs because I'm going to add some accessories, and then how I add those may depend where I want to put the legs. I also have the Safari Accessories die set, and I'm going to use the little safari hat and the camera, and both of those have 2 dies to put those together. Now the hat I cut out of the same tan paper that I did with the lion, and then I used a darker brown to cut out the band. I pounced on some vintage photo distress ink onto the hat so that it would look a little bit used and also make it a little darker than the lion is. Then I just used my Nouveau Deluxe glue to glue the band onto the hat, and then I glued the hat onto the top of the lion's mane. And I had to adjust it a little bit to make sure I was covering the mane so it looks like it's really on his head. And I actually had to go through and glue it twice because the first time I didn't get enough glue on it. There's just 2 dies for the camera, so there's the big one that I cut out in black, and then the 2 circles are just 1 die that cuts out 2 circles, and I'm just leaving those gray. So I just used my glue again to glue the circles onto the camera, and these dies are really nice because they have engravings on them where they put extra details and also all the little indentations to notify you where to add the extra pieces. I noticed my camera had a smudge on it. At first I thought it was some extra glue, but I couldn't get it off, so I think it's just some ink that came off my finger. Also, I cut out another eye because I never did find it, so I used my marker to color the new eye in. So I just glue on his eye, and then I add a little dot from a Jelly Roll pen to each eye to just give it a little bit of shine. Finally, I just kind of play around with his legs for a while in the camera so I can decide where I want his legs to be to hold the camera. And then I just use my glue to glue it all together. I will put a list of all the products that I used in the description below. Some of these will be affiliate links. They don't cost you anything extra to use, but I do get a small commission from any sales that the links generate, and that helps support my channel. I have used this die set several times before to make a tiger. It's advertised as a tiger too. It just has stripes and no mane. but I've also used it to make leopards and snow leopards, so you can use this set to make all kinds of different cats. Also, I have a playlist that shows how I did use this die set to make different cats, as well as some of the other cute dies that Elizabeth Craft Designs has. There's one that has a Jeep, and you can put the little animals inside the Jeep. As I mentioned earlier, this is part of a YouTube hop with Ginger's Scraps to Embellishment. So if you're not a member of that, she does have a Facebook group, and it's just called Ginger's Corner. You can go to that. I'll have all the links in the description below. And what we do is each week there's a swap where you can join any of the ones that you want. This week will be Safari, so if you want to participate in that, you just sign up on Sunday, the week that that particular theme is, and you can look to see which themes are coming up each week. And then you would send in 4 with the, and then you'll get 4 other people's creations for, in this case, Safari's back. But you can check all the details on her Facebook page. I'll also have a list in the description below of all the people that participate in the hops. Now, since this is a weekly hop with different themes, we don't all participate every week. I try to do at least once or twice a month, but everyone will participate different times. So it'll have a list of all the ones who do participate, but they may not have one for this particular week. The easiest way to hop along is there will be a playlist with all the different ones from this whole year, so you can also get Safari ideas as well as the other themes that they have done hops with this whole year. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and if you're not already subscribed, I'd really appreciate if you can subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.